All righty, let's roll. And if you need to stop me at all, you can, because like I said, I edit it myself, so no worries. Hey, 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 it's your host, Andrea, with From Mrs. to Ms. I am super excited today. We have a wonderful guest in house with us today. I'm excited for you guys to meet her. This is Ambika Devi. Hello.
Hi, Andrea. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me as a guest.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm so happy to have you. And I want you guys to all go on and watch this on YouTube, because not only does she have a cool background with, I see Yoda in the background, I see some really fun stuff back there, but she's beautiful. And if we tell you her age throughout this show, you're going to be like, what the fuck? So,
That's Grogu. That's Baby Yoda.
oh,
But
baby
that's
Yoda.
okay.
See,
Yeah.
I
My
see Yoda.
nickname, one of my nicknames is Yogini Yoda. So I have
Ah.
Yodas everywhere, Yoda t-shirts, you know.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it. So great start. I love the vibe and the energy. So we're going to just jump right in. So I'm going to talk to you and introduce our guest. She offers effective tools that align thoughts and calms the mind, boosting teams from sluggish to creative and successful. In 2023, she was named Female CEO of the Year for the most inspirational workplace communication specialist by CEO Monthly and Global AI. Her tools stabilize relationships, enhance health, and improve communication harmony. With 47 years of experience, did y'all hear me on that? Over 13,500 hours of study and more than 20,000 client success stories, she provides targeted mind taming techniques. Ambika holds degrees in yoga and meditation, astrology, and fine arts, and is an international best-selling and award-winning author. Woo! Wow. I love it. What a great little bio you got there. I know. I'd be like, oh, love it. Love it. So let's jump right in. Let's start at the beginning. So, what got you started with this line of work 47 years ago? And how did you find the profound connection between mind, body, and spirit?
I was introduced to meditation when I was 6 years old. I had,
6.
yeah,
Wow.
I
Okay.
had been in a public school
Uh-huh.
and there were issues. I wasn't learning how to read. Go figure. Now I'm an award-winning author.
Right.
And my parents were offered the opportunity to take me out and put me in a local private school, a Quaker school that was
Hmm.
actually really close to home. I started walking to school with older kids on my block that I already knew. And everything about it from that moment was
Yeah.
better.
Wow.
And the school was starting a new learning program for teaching reading and writing.
Okay.
And because I was having difficulty, uh, my parents asked me, would I be willing to do first grade again? Because they pulled me out early in the first year of first grade.
Okay.
And I said, are other kids like me going to be doing this? And they said, yes, there will be. And I said, okay. And I fell in love with reading and writing.
Wow. How
My
cool is
mother
that?
loved books, so
Yeah.
she ran book groups, and in our dining room, our formal dining room, which we usually ate in, an eating nook in the kitchen, but we did have dinners often in this bigger dining room. My mother
Uh-huh.
loved to entertain and cook and make little dinner parties, and there was a huge dictionary. So I was always around words and writing, and she would host book groups in our home, but I had a bumpy start.
Yeah.
There were a few more bumps along the way. I wasn't a great speller, but even though my ninth grade teacher told me I would never amount to anything because I couldn't spell. Yeah, my
Wow.
ninth grade English teacher, she didn't know I'd have a computer and a spell
Yeah.
checker.
We've come a long way, but shame on her for saying that in the first
And
place.
editors, so,
Yeah. Oh
and
my
I've written
gosh.
for newspapers, magazines, been on radio, TV.
Done it all.
Mm.
You showed her, didn't you? Kind
I send her love. You know
of.
what? That just shows that even though when we get knocked down by something, Andrea,
Hmm.
it's up to us to pull ourselves up out of it,
Absolutely.
We can take the insult to hit. And this is something from yogic philosophy
Uh-huh.
of the first reaction is for free because you're
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
But pain is created when we react and re-react, and then thought loop. And I know we all do it. And
Mm-hmm.
strange thoughts just show up, or something we thought we cleansed out or got rid of,
Yeah.
they can
Yeah.
float back. So I'm
Absolutely.
grateful for all of this. It's lessons, and shows me, okay, this is an area I can work on
Hmm. I
and
love it.
develop.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted you to come on the show, because I thought you would just have so much great insight on how to pick yourself up and put yourself back up there. And, just find different tools to learn how to improve your life, to improve yourself, and just, really become somebody that you want to be. So I love that. So I had asked about the profound connection between mind, body, and spirit. How did you find that? Like, where did you start really diving into all of that?
Definitely in the beginning,
Mhm.
learning to meditate was a big part of it. Um, my mother took me to yoga class with her when I was also little. I
Yeah.
first saw yogis in first grade in 1967. I started first grade in the second time in
Uh-huh.
1966.
Uh-huh.
And at a May Day celebration, and we're recording here at the beginning of May. Uh,
Yes.
so May 1st has always been kind of a renewal, regenerative. Uh, look, I'm human, I
I
stumble.
know, right?
Uh,
Right.
it has always been an active regeneration. It's springtime where I live in the Northern Hemisphere. We both do.
Yes.
And, but May Day, I remember that first year, we our little classroom was in a stable, little stone stable, and it was adjacent to the meeting house. That's
Okay.
where we went to sit in meditation. They called it meeting for worship. They were Quaker.
Yeah.
But we were sitting quietly, first through sixth grade, all students, for an hour every Wednesday morning.
And
So
people
can
were
you
quiet. They were
Yeah,
actually
now
quiet. Wow.
occasionally somebody would stand up, maybe read something, maybe say something. Every once in a while, someone might play music,
Yeah.
like a flute or something. It wasn't until later in high school, because I did go to a middle school and a Quaker high school, but I ended up leaving before my senior year,
Yeah.
that there was more maybe action, but in a meeting for worship.
Yeah.
But I remember just it was always a very peaceful thing. They had a regiment. They had a series of things that we did. Tuesday mornings we all sang. We all
Hmm.
sang songs together,
Hmm.
and Wednesday mornings we sat quietly. And if
Interesting.
we think a bit, you mentioned one of the things I am as an astrologer,
Yeah.
and also the yogic traditions also follow planetary rulership of the days of the week, right?
Uh-huh.
So if we think about it, Tuesday, Martes, I just said it in another language because I wanted you to hear the word in a different language. The Latin-based languages use a sound more like Mars, and Tuesday is related to Mars. It's Mars Day.
Mars Day.
So if we sing, we're using Mars energy,
Hmm.
we're activating. Wednesday, miércoles, is Mercury.
Hmm.
We spoke French also. I'm using Spanish, but it's similar in French.
Yes.
We had French and English back then, but then I lived in Arizona, so everything turned into Spanish.
Right.
And, and now I'm learning Italian,
Oh my goodness.
just for fun. I love languages.
Yes.
I just love them. So Wednesday, it makes sense on a day when we've got a lot of swift movement from Mercury, which is
Hmm.
planet of communication, to sit quietly and contemplate and go inward, and to try
Mm.
and quiet down all that chatter.
Wow. And did you find was it an easy process for you at such a young age? Because I just think as a child, I just remember my mind being all over I mean, it still is, but for the majority of the time, it's just all over the place. So to sit and to actually be able to meditate and be in that moment, was that something that came easy to you?
It came easy to all of us because we weren't
Wow.
told you're going to sit and meditate.
Yeah.
This is how it went the first day. We're in our little classroom. It's the first Wednesday of the brand new school year. Our
Hmm.
teacher says, line up at the door and take hands. And we did, we're
Yeah.
first graders,
Yeah.
and,
Do what you're
and we,
told.
and we were led like a giant caterpillar
Uh-huh.
out of our little building over into the big one, and we didn't even know what was in there. Maybe some of the kids did,
Yeah.
because their families would go there on the weekend, because they would also meet on the weekend, but the all school meetings would be on Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
And we were told we're going to go sit quietly.
Mm.
And that was all we were told. So we weren't given a whole rigmarole of information that didn't get our minds all stressed out. All we thought is, okay. And walking in, okay, it's autumn in Pennsylvania. It
Mm-hmm.
was a beautiful, you know how you can get a warm day there
Mm-hmm.
in that point of the year in September,
Mm-hmm.
early September. I remember walking in, it was very cool, thick stone walls. The benches maybe didn't look like they'd be so comfortable, but I have a tendency to sit cross-legged on whatever you put me on because I'm short. And
Okay.
uh and so I found a comfortable seat, and I thought, wow, this is actually pretty comfortable. And because the entire vibration was peace and calm,
Mm-hmm.
it was infective and
Yeah.
quite easy to just be. Time went
Yeah.
by. Nobody had watches on. Nobody was thinking, when is this going to be over? There wasn't a clock on the wall ticking. And then every week it became a blessing,
Yeah.
a comfortable thing to look forward to.
Yeah. Wow. So fast forwarding to where you are now and everything that you work on now, you talk a lot about inner peace and self-love. So what do you think is the difference between those two, just to kind of explain so we can understand?
Ooh. Inner peace. Inner peace is going to be very unique to each individual,
Okay.
because we all, as human beings, experience mind waves, chatter.
Mm-hmm.
And in Sanskrit, we call those vrittis, or vritti.
Mm-hmm.
So when we hear the description of, meditate, or you're going to sit up straight, close your eyes, focus on your breath, and then what do you do with all that mind stuff that's making waves? And then maybe another school of thought would say, make the mind smooth like a glassy lake. That is very disruptive for a lot of people,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's about focusing on the breath, and also just becoming the witness of what's going across the dark screen on the inside
Mm.
of the forehead. you
Mm-hmm.
know there are
Yeah.
many, many techniques. It just came natural. Some of the yogic thought on this is, when you've practiced it many, many times in previous lifetimes, you're gifted the opportunity to land in a womb that's up for rent for
Yeah.
9 months, come out breathing, and be put in a neighborhood and a family that could very well give you the possibilities of getting back on track and learning more.
Yeah.
So I can't help but think, I've done this before,
Yeah.
and that this time around, my service to humanity is to find different ways. I've been working on a PhD for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Will I get it? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But what it's taught me is that there are many different ideas about what is meditation. A lot of
Yeah.
people think it's a destination,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not. It's a verb, it's a state of being. Because
Mm-hmm.
once we learn how to sit, okay, I learned how to sit back
Mm-hmm.
then. I learned how to be quiet. Nobody told me to close my eyes or focus on my breath, but I learned
Mm-hmm.
how to be quiet. Then later, when I formally was learning techniques, I learned pranayama, which is breathing exercises from yoga. I
Mm-hmm.
learned how to pronounce things in Sanskritam, which is Sanskrit,
Mm-hmm.
and the formulas. And I also learned about the rhythm of things, which
Mm-hmm.
is Jyotisha, the science of the stars, and it is astrology.
Astrology.
So the
Yeah.
idea of the term body, mind, spirit, or let's say it this way, mind, body, spirit, same,
Uh-huh.
same,
Uh-huh.
right? Mind is yoga. Yoga is for the mind. It's for taming the mind.
Okay.
Yoga embodies, yoga is, we can see it as the bigger umbrella. And then we have Ayurveda. I know a lot of people have heard of Ayurveda. It happens to be the topic of my second book. uh, Unfolding Happiness,
Ah,
which is an introduction to Ayurveda, meditation, and cosmology.
okay.
And uh, so then you can learn some of the basics of the elements, because the elements are involved in astrology. And then there's Jyotisha, which is astrology, and that's the science for the spirit. So
Yeah.
yoga, Ayurveda, and Jyotisha equal mind, body,
Body,
spirit.
spirit. Oh, I love it. I love it. And so when we're comparing kind of an inner peace to, say, a self-love, so inner peace is more of like an internal thing. You get yourself in a state of mind, and more self-love is, do you consider that like things that you can do to, I mean, basically love yourself more?
As a coach of relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and relationships, I'm talking about all kinds of relationships, Andrea, and everybody.
Yes.
Because we have relationship with self, we have relationship with family, we have
Yeah.
relationship with friends, we have relationship with workmates,
Mm-hmm.
and even when we're solopreneur, we are interacting with somebody at some
Yes.
point, and then maybe romance, lovers,
Yeah.
partnership, contractual agreements,
Yes.
marriage, and
Yes.
corporations. So truly, the inner peace is when we have harmony, right? Things feel
Mm-hmm.
like they're all singing together.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, that is important to be able to have self acceptance. But then as human beings, we get hit with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to learn how to adapt, accommodate, and accept what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about inner peace and things that you can do to find that, I know you do meditation, and then yoga, I would assume falls into that category. What are a couple other things that people can do to help find their inner peace?
Go outside.
Yes. Get
Go
away
put
from the
Turn this
TV.
off and go outside right now, and
Well,
then you
don't
can
turn
come back
this
later.
off, but watch this and
Pause
then
it,
go
pause it.
outside.
No, of course I want you to watch this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important. We've got great stuff to share with you today.
Yeah.
But what about first thing in the morning? What are you doing? If the first thing you're doing is picking up one of these, don't do it. If
Yeah.
that thing is in your bedroom,
Yeah. She's referring to her
it it
phone for
it,
those
it
of you
should
who are
definitely, yeah,
listening.
I'm sorry, I was picking up my cell
That's
phone,
okay.
everyone. Uh I bet you all knew what I was talking about though. Um if you are bringing an electronic device into the place where you're sleeping, put it in airplane mode.
Yeah.
Your alarm will still work. I know a lot of
Mm.
us do use them for alarms,
Mm-hmm.
but consider not doing things in the space where you sleep, like
Yeah.
watching TV. I know I just tweaked some people on that one. Even reading, I recommend you have a separate reading space.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
because your body will learn things through repetition.
Mm.
Bed, sleep.
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of people are having trouble sleeping. And I have experimented with all of this, everyone. So another thing I have done over a few years ago was I used to read in bed and fall asleep with the book on me.
Yeah.
And uh I stopped doing it. And I unplugged I had little sconce lamps. I unplugged them. I unplugged everything that's under and around my bed,
Yeah.
and not even having an electric current running there, and I'm sleeping so much more
So
deeply.
good.
Guys, yeah, I
Wow.
could be a very light sleeper, I have to have it dark, I have to have it cool,
Yeah. Me
but
too.
now I learned, and there are days when I do have to bring a cell phone into, because I do have to get up at a specific time the next day,
Yeah.
and airplane mode
Yeah.
and do not disturb,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh, I think those are great suggestions because we all do that. We are so glued to our phones these days.
And that's a big part of inner peace,
Yeah.
but going outside, if you go outside in the morning, in that first hour when the sun is rising in your
Mm.
area, and
Mhm.
get some of that sunlight in your eyes, that will really help a lot. It affects our endocrine system, which is the glandular system of the body,
Mm-hmm.
and also watching the sunset, that last hour of the sun setting, looking at the morning sky, listening to the insects and the birds come alive,
Mm-hmm.
watching the sunset, going outside and looking at the night sky. My goodness.
Yes,
So many people,
absolutely.
I could go walking and I can point out stars and planets, and the moon might be full and I'll see a neighbor and I'll say, wow, look at that beautiful full moon. And they say, where? And I point, and then I point out maybe a planet or a constellation,
Yeah.
and they're just blown away. I
Yeah.
didn't even know the moon was full. How do you not know
Yeah.
this?
I'm sure it's surprising how many people are in that category where we are just stuck in our phones, stuck on the TV, stuck in our lives of
Ah,
where we got to be and not taking the time to just really enjoy what nature has to offer. So I think those are really, really great tips. And what about like self-love? What are some things that you would suggest to do to kind of work on your self-love?
I think one of the easiest things to do is to remind yourself, I am enough.
Mm.
I teach this to clients all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it did become kind of a movement several years back,
Yeah.
but the way to really do it, and I do it, I still do it. I have a pop-up on my calendar on my phone
Yeah.
that says it every day, and
Yeah.
I say it out loud with
I love it.
conviction.
Yeah.
Um, positive words. We have to understand that the throat chakra,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Vishuddha chakra,
Mm-hmm.
is taking information from the mind. The mind's external. Once we
Mm-hmm.
realize that and it's not in our head, that helps a lot.
Okay.
And it's taking information, processing it, putting it down into the heart space.
Uh-huh.
The heart space is the element of air.
Uh-huh.
Then a word wants to come out. So it comes up, comes into the throat, the element of space.
Uh-huh.
Space is indelible. It's the only one of the elements that are of the five elements that doesn't decompose.
Mm.
And think about that. If you
Yeah.
say something about yourself, it's going back into your ears,
Uh-huh.
and that's indelible.
Yes.
So, one of the most powerful things you can do if you're having challenges, we all do. I could go telling you lots of stories. It's not worth it right now, but we
Mm-hmm.
have all been through challenges. That's something we have to understand. If we are gifted a
Mm-hmm.
human lifetime, we are guaranteed to experience pleasure and pain.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Mm-hmm.
have to understand that when there is pain, we have to accept it. We have to give it space. We have to treat it like a learned teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But then how do we get out of it? We've got to think the opposite and do the opposite. And that takes a lot more energy.
Yes. Yeah,
Reach out
absolutely.
to people for help,
Yeah.
go outside, reconnect with nature, make
Mm-hmm.
sure what you're eating is healthy. I'm holding up a green drink, everybody, that I made out of cucumber, celery, and kale. Yep, I don't put any salt or
Mm-hmm.
anything else. I know you can wean yourself into that. But that is the first thing I put in my body other than water
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. No, I think
Yeah.
those are all, yeah, all really great things and things we don't often think about. What we say to ourselves is so important when we're, talking negatively. Like you said, it goes out and comes right back in the ear. So how are
And
we
that,
supposed to
yeah.
think positive, right?
And can you imagine if we taught little kids this?
Yeah.
Because when we were little children, we heard people doing what they were doing,
Yeah.
maybe frustrated, and then we learned, okay, it's okay to do that, but nobody maybe took the time to say, you know what? Everything you're saying is going back in and affecting you. Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be an amazing thing to teach
Wow.
little children? Let's start
Yeah.
doing it,
Gosh.
and teach people that they're
Absolutely.
deserving. You got to remember you're deserving.
Hmm.
You won this. If you can start treating life like you won a lottery,
Yeah.
then you're going to have a lot more reverence
Yeah.
and compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing process. We can
Yeah.
get insulted, but we have to learn how to bear the insults and the
Hmm.
injuries. and
Yeah.
then move forward again.
Yeah, I started putting sticky notes throughout my apartment of just, daily affirmations to say to myself. And it's amazing how, might be brushing my teeth and I just look up and I see my little note that says, "You are awesome." And I'm like, yeah, I am, as I'm brushing my teeth. It's really wild to me how just those simple little changes in your life can make such a difference in your mindset. And so that's what I kind of like always tell people to like just to put reminders around the house. If you don't think about, doing certain things. I also have my Alexa that talks to me in the morning and she'll give me a whole little, at 8:30 every morning, she spits out all this stuff about how great I am. And and it just puts me in this wonderful mood for the day. It's so nice.
And if you don't have an Alexa, you can write notes. That's a great
Yeah.
way to do it. I still have I am enough in my closet.
Yeah.
So when I walk in there,
You see that? Yeah.
it
I
makes me
wanted to get that
smile.
as a tattoo. I did not a permanent one. I can't think of the word right now, that you can just put on for like a certain period of time.
Henna,
And it,
was
yep,
it?
yes. And it was,
Uh-huh.
and it said, "I am enough." And I just put it on the inside of my arm. And I was really surprised that anytime I was kind of in a down mood or didn't feel like something was going right. And I just looked at that. I tell you, it just changed my mindset immediately.
Mm,
Immediately. Yeah. It was really great.
words
It was,
have power.
they really, really do.
That's
So
why they call it spelling.
so I like that. Got a spell on you. So you specialize in meditation. So some find it very difficult to meditate, right? I know I can be one of them. I've tried it and my mind is so crazy, but that's all part of it, isn't it? Like your mind may wander off and then you just kind of want to let it and bring it back. Am I right in saying that?
I'm going to let you in on a secret.
Oh, please. I'm like,
Meditation, remember, it's not a location, it's not a destination, it's a
yeah,
state of being.
state of being.
So what is it? It's becoming the witness,
Mhm.
watching. So if the mind is jumping around
Mhm.
and you want it to calm down again, then you have to use a tool.
Okay.
So the best tools are sound, right? And we've just looped right back around to it.
Yeah.
This is why all kinds of organizations have developed prayers, positive affirmations, mantras.
Yeah.
I have an article on my blog that's which is better,
Okay.
positive affirmations, mantras, or prayers. And right in the beginning, I say they're all the same.
Yeah. That's what I was
They're
saying.
all the same.
Yeah.
It's really what works for you.
Right.
And breathing exercises, because the whole idea of the yogic breathing exercises is to halt the breath. Did you ever notice, have you ever been around a little kid who gets really angry and then pitches a fit and maybe holds their breath?
Oh yeah, I have. I have
Have
seen
you
that.
ever,
Yes.
until they
Yes.
start turning red, and maybe
Yes.
even somebody will say, wait a minute, breathe. And
Stop, calm down.
because when we halt the breath,
Yeah.
the mind can't shatter. Now, I'm not
Interesting.
telling you to asphyxiate yourself every day.
Yes, please.
But my point is that the intermediate and advanced practices of breath control is just
Hmm.
that. A simple one is a square breath. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. That's a
Okay.
square breath.
Hmm.
That's a really good practice. You can't do 4 counts. You could either speed them up or do
Hmm.
1 count,
Hmm.
but it is traditionally done with a 4 count. Then you may get a little more advanced. You may start doing alternate nostril breathing, where there's a particular way to close the nose and holding the breath in between.
Hmm.
Then there could be forced breath and then a hold of an exhale, then an inhale and holding the air in. So these ways are also launchable, but
Hmm.
you don't have to do this. Some people are very much into movement. They want to run,
Hmm.
they want to walk. My first thing in the morning is going out for a walk.
Okay.
Uh, After, of course, I have done the things that my body needs to empty out and take a little shower,
Yeah.
and then and brush my teeth,
Yeah.
and then I go out for a little walk if it's a nice day. If
Yeah.
not, I may walk around in circles in the house a little bit or bounce on my a mini trampoline.
Yeah.
And during that walk, I almost keep my eyes closed. and I'm listening to the birds, I'm listening to the insects. Of course, if I encounter someone, I say good morning,
Yeah.
but I'm staying more inward. And
Uh-huh.
that is a sense of inner peace for me, starting the
Yeah.
morning that way. I'm not looking at my phone. It's
Mm-hmm.
still in airplane mode.
Mm-hmm. And so that's considered a form of meditation,
Sure, it's a
right?
walking
Yeah.
meditation, right?
Yeah.
But you might want to dance, you might want to sing, you might want to make
Mm-hmm.
art, uh, you might want to lie down
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
But giving yourself some regrouping of,
Yeah.
I just landed back in my body,
Mm-hmm.
after sleep, because where do we go when we sleep? And then and also drinking some water. Maybe don't throw something in the system. Water is really what the body wants in the morning. It
Yeah.
wants it on the outside and the inside. Our skin drinks more than our alimentary canal, which is your digestive tract, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then I exercise, but that's me. Then I
Yeah.
come back and I do some uh exercises, and then I might meditate. Sometimes I might sit first. Sometimes I wake up at 3 in the morning and I sit and meditate and do pranayama and go
Uh-huh.
back to sleep for a while.
Ah,
It just depends.
yeah.
But a type A personality, somebody who's more pitta, which is one of the definitions of the natures used in Ayurveda, might need something more regimented. I go to the gym, I do
Mm-hmm.
this, all of that, that is a form of meditation. Because
Mm-hmm.
remember, meditation is a state of being.
Yeah.
We can get meditative when we're cooking, or
Mm.
gardening.
Yeah.
So why not? So movement is one way to launch into the state of being.
Okay.
Sitting, breathing, sitting up straight, closing the eyes. That's another way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then what we have to understand is, and then guided meditation or hypnotic, which is on my podcast for free, everybody, if you want to go try some guided meditations.
Ooh.
That's a third way to launch into it. Now, a lot of people, I just gave a talk last weekend to an organization about meditation, and they had a lot of questions about it.
Yeah.
Everybody felt like they struggled with it. And if I'm talking on this subject, always there's someone in the audience that wants to say, but when I try guided meditation, I fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And my response is always the same. That's okay. You're
Yeah.
exhausted. You're
Yeah.
not getting enough rest when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And that's why that happens. So let it happen, because if you practice a guided meditation, uh, then let's say it's 20 to 40 minutes, you're
Yeah.
going to get the rejuvenation of up to 4 hours of deep sleep. So,
Wow.
if you tend to fall asleep, set an alarm. Then it's okay to set an alarm. If you're
Yeah.
using guided meditation, I highly recommend you're not doing it with your eyes open, watching something on YouTube. That's entertainment. That is not meditation.
Not the way to
If
do
we're
it.
taking something in through the senses, we are entertaining ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But with guided meditation, I'm going to say that's a gateway process into
Yeah.
the state. Now, once we learn how to sit and meditate on a cushion,
Yeah.
then we need to stand up and still be in the state of meditation and walk around and carry on and interact with that equanimity. So the
Mm-hmm.
state of meditation, remember I said it's the witness state
Mm-hmm.
where we're non-reactive.
Yeah.
We're not falling into the trappings of the world
Right.
or the pairs of opposites. I like it, I don't like it. This is good, this is bad. That's nice, this is not.
Mm-hmm.
These are opposites. When we can get right in the center of that and not react to
Mm-hmm.
either the pleasure or the pain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the pleasure again. If we're non-reactive to either,
Yeah.
then we're in the state of meditation.
Oof.
There's a third way to
Oh,
meditate. There's a
there
third
is.
way.
Tell me.
After we learn how to walk around,
Mm-hmm.
we then learn how to do sleep meditation, where the
Oh.
body is sleeping, but the mind is awake and aware. This
Ooh.
is where we can launch into things like lucid dreaming.
Okay. Whoa. Is that considered like a deep state of
Or out
meditation?
of body experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be.
It is a more difficult.
Mhm.
it is a more difficult process to be able to get the body to do that. Yoga Nidra, which is the guided meditation techniques that come from yoga, and the stuff we find online is anywhere from that, from Yoga Nidra, all the way to hypnosis. So anything in between.
Mm.
And Yoga Nidra is used to get yourself into that state so you can experience of the body sleeping and the mind totally awake and aware.
Mm.
Not an easy place to get to. You'll
Yeah.
drift out. When I used to teach classes, I haven't been doing it, but I'm more than happy to come in and do a demo at anybody's talk or convention event.
Yeah.
Then, people will fall asleep. If it's a smaller room, I might go around and, shake a toe if they're lying down. It does get a little weird if people start snoring, but but that's okay,
Yeah.
because that's part of it, because the brain waves, all brain waves are firing at all times. Some are more predominant, some
Uh-huh.
less. It's not like I'm in alpha state. Well, that doesn't mean beta, theta, and delta aren't and gamma aren't happening. They're
Yeah.
just quieter.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand that the state of meditation, deep meditation, is gamma, a higher level of gamma, but it's in between theta and alpha. It's a balance. So it's not
Wow.
dreaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So if
Yeah.
somebody is very new to meditating, what would be your best thoughts for like where they should start? Just something very simple, just
I
the
would
eyes
I would
closed?
recommend to look at where you had times where you might have gotten into a zone
Mm.
where you disappeared. And this does happen when we're driving.
Yeah.
Have you ever been driving and you thought, where am I going?
Oh, yeah.
Or, who is driving?
Yes. I don't even remember like
Or
going
did
through
I
that
did I get
like,
off this exit, or did I miss my exit?
yeah, a little
You were in a
scary.
state of
Yeah.
meditation.
Yeah.
But who's witnessing? That's the true self. The true
Yeah.
self is the witness, not the physical body. The physical body is a robe. We hear from the metaphysical community, or even some of the spiritual communities, I am a spirit having a human experience, right?
Yes.
I am an energy, I am an essence having a human experience. Yes, that's true. The physical body is like a robe that
Yeah.
we wear for a while, and just like clothes, it eventually wears out.
Yeah.
Unless you've figured out some sort of rejuvenative
Yeah.
techniques. We'll
Interesting.
see. We'll see
We'll
how long I
see.
get this one to last.
Yes, for sure. So you also, beyond the meditation and all that stuff, we talked about astrology, that
A
you
little
have,
bit, yeah.
yeah, a little bit. You have some expertise in astrology.
Oh,
So
I have a lot of
a
expertise in
lot, a lot. Oh,
astrology.
good, good. Okay. So how does astrology play into our everyday lives? And why is it like such an effective tool in our lives?
Well, we have to understand that what we have access to
Mm-hmm.
is pop astrology.
Pop astrology.
Yeah, pop culture astrology.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Like horoscopes in the newspaper. That's
Yeah.
taking your sun sign
Mm-hmm.
and imagining it's on the ascendant of a chart. A chart is 360 degrees divided into 12 pieces of
Okay.
pi,
Okay.
30 degrees each. Yep, there's a lot of math involved.
I know, I'm lost already.
Calculus, to be exact, and a bit of geometry.
Uh-huh.
And so we're just taking a tiny bit in the astrological charts that I create, that I use with clients.
Yeah.
I use 23 points. So the sun is 1/23 of the information. And to create an astrology chart for an individual,
Mm-hmm.
one must give me their date of birth with the month, day of year, month, day,
Mm-hmm.
and year, their
Mm-hmm.
time of birth with the hour and minute. And now that there's cell phones, I even have parents having babies give me the seconds, because all
Okay.
of that's part of the calculation.
Yeah.
If anybody remembers to take a screenshot of it, the
Mm-hmm.
measurement of that is when the baby takes the first breath, not when the head appears.
Okay. Interesting.
So
Yeah.
in the old days, and if they'd smack you on the butt, then it was when you cried,
Yeah.
because that's when we knew you were breathing.
You're breathing. Yeah.
But And then the location, because the latitude and longitude come to play. There are different house systems, there are
Yeah.
different calculation systems, there are different zodiacs that are used, meaning how it's measured. Sidereal time is measured using the actual movement of our galaxy, our solar system in the galaxy towards what's called the great attractor. Now I'm getting into some astrophysics.
Mhm.
And then tropical astrology, and there's always been a debate between these two teams, but I can read both. And then the tropical is using our place on the earth
Uh-huh.
and the changes of the seasons, the equinoxes and the solstice points.
Wow.
I use the tropical zodiac. You can argue with me,
Uh-huh.
but and I've done plenty of interviews about that way in the past. But I do use the same system, which would be the same measurement to mark where the moon was at the moment of your first breath. This
Okay.
this is from Jyotish, from the Eastern astrological technique. So I use a blending of both.
Yeah.
Why do I use this? Well, if somebody's coming to me for health issues, remember I taught holistic health for 21 years,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I left being a clinician because I realized most of what's going on is in the mind and our
Okay.
mind connection and our thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's also quite often an existential process, a
Mhm.
spiritual need for
Yeah.
changes and behavioral changes. In an astrological chart, a great astrologer can see your propensity, your true nature, what you were given as a blueprint. But everything is free will. It is not
Mhm.
fate. Throw out the idea of fate. And then there are timing things. Maybe you want to launch a book or a business, or you
Mhm.
want to plan a wedding.
Mhm.
I have in the past looked at a couple's pairs of charts that wanted to create a wedding, and they had to have two weddings, one in one country, one in another.
Oh, uh-huh.
But when we're doing weddings, and I'm a minister, everybody, so I take this very seriously, I can sign those documents, and that is a business agreement.
Yeah.
So when you're going to City Hall, if you're in the countries that require that, most of them do,
Yeah.
where you have to get a contract and then you have to wait. Can you believe they only make you wait 3 days?
No.
I can't believe that. I feel like that's so old. And as
Mhm.
someone who coaches and counsels individuals and couples on relationships and organizations, that
Mhm.
still blows my mind
Yeah, that's
because you only have
crazy.
after you get the contract, you have a window where you
Yeah.
have to get it signed by an officiant.
Yeah.
And there's so I won't even go there until I know you have a business plan. Yes, I'm talking prenuptial agreement.
Uh-huh.
And because that is a contract of incorporation that you're
Okay.
creating.
Mhm.
And it has nothing to do with love. But when you're planning wedding ceremonies,
Mhm.
then you want people to be loving and happy and communicative. So with this one couple that had to have two different weddings in two different countries, and we had to figure out about getting the dates to get the contracts,
Yeah.
to have them signed on the right date. Because I've been known to sign the contracts and do a mini ceremony and then a mock ceremony for the party.
Oh, gotcha.
So we
Wow.
have the optimum, because if you're coming to me
Mhm.
for an incorporation, let's throw out the idea of wedding for a second.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about starting a business. I
Mhm.
want to know the day, time, and place of the inception idea. When did you
Mhm.
first get the idea? Then did you incorporate? Did you get an LLC or did you do something? I need that day and time and
Mhm.
location. Then you might want to be launching a new product or a new line or launching your announcement.
Mhm.
That's another day and time. That's what we
Yeah.
plan. So we have to understand, if we're just looking at, I'm waking up and I'm reading my horoscope for the day in the newspaper, which is what, 70 words? I used to write those for
Mhm.
newspapers and magazines.
Mhm.
We're not going to get it. But then later, I was an astrologer behind the scenes on a show on TLC, the
Mhm.
Learning Channel, called
Mhm.
Second Chance. And I was given the date, time, and location of each individual who had dated in the past. And then
Okay.
I had to predict before they even filmed the show and sent the couple on dates. So remember, they dated in the past, they split apart.
Okay.
One of them reached out to the show, it was a reality
Oh, I
show,
think I watched
and
this.
wanted to get back together.
Yeah.
And so the producer would give me the astrological info for the couple, and I
Okay.
had to predict whether they could make it as a couple after they went
Ooh.
through and I had 100% accuracy.
And how much were you right? I mean, you're 100% accurate, but did a lot of them actually, you
Well,
found that they would be
most of
together?
them, no.
No.
So
They were separated for a reason.
here's a little information on that, everybody.
Yeah.
Exes are exes for a
A
reason.
reason.
Now, when we break up, come back together, break up, come back together, and that's a repeat pattern, that's because you know there's learning that can
Yeah.
take place with the
Yeah.
other person and with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to be honest about,
Yeah.
And have I seen couples split apart and then come back? Of course.
Yeah.
Have I seen couples that have near perfect charts together go through 25 years of marriage and then one wakes up one day and goes, I can't do this anymore? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is a blueprint, but it's not a direct promissory route. For
Yeah.
instance, if you take a road trip,
Uh-huh.
back in the day, everybody, before GPS, we used to go to a place called AAA and get maps. And they would take a
Oh
highlighter
yeah.
and they would show us the route. And we had to have a co-pilot or pull over a lot to read the
Crazy.
map, right?
Yes.
We could read maps.
I
And
know.
then and we
Probably
would
not
study them and know
anymore.
where we were going in advance.
Yeah.
But when we would do that, wouldn't we sometimes be driving along and think, oh, that I remember reading about that little town. I'm going to take a side route,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Detour.
And then maybe there'd be a detour and we
Yeah.
have no choice but to take another route.
Yeah.
And maybe there could be a holdup that just stops us for a
Mm-hmm.
while. Same is
Mm-hmm.
true in relationships.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
We have to always be ready to be in a different AAA club, accept, adapt, and accommodate.
See what you did there. Accept, adapt, and accommodate. I like that. That's
That's
really,
the
really good.
yogis AAA
That's
club.
good. That's some good stuff. So how much weight should we put on, when we just wake up and we do look at the horoscopes in the paper, the little
I
70
love it.
words.
I mean, I used to
Yeah.
write them. I get a kick out of seeing what people write.
Yeah. But when I'm
Um,
looking to see if I match or I start dating a guy and I look it up and it says you're a good match with, this sign and this sign, how much
when
weight
it
do we
comes
put on that?
1/23
Mm,
in my
not
book,
much. Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
in relationship astrology, there's not going to be two perfect charts.
Yeah.
We're going to see some things that are great. We're going to see some things that are challenges.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, am I willing to work on these?
Yes.
Am I willing to accommodate them? Not overcompensate. Big difference, everybody.
Yeah.
Compensate and overcompensate. Really think about that in life.
Mm,
But we have to look at what are the high points, what are the challenges? And
mhm,
then as partners, can you go to the other person and apologize?
mm,
And the most important part, can you ask your partner, how can I do better in the future?
mm.
Can you
Wow.
ask yourself?
Yeah.
If you, a great practice, take two pouches, one with light colored stones, one with dark colored stones.
Hmm.
Carry those on your belt if you wear a belt,
Yeah.
and then have an empty pouch.
Yeah.
And then everything you do in the day, if it's a good thing, take a light colored stone, put it in the pouch. If you have a negative thought, you get cut off in traffic and say something very colorful, a darker stone goes in the pouch. And at the end of the day, you dump the finished pouch out and you look, are there more light colored stones or dark colored stones
Yeah.
in the pouch?
Oh, I love that.
And then you forgive yourself and you ask yourself, how can I do better
Yes.
tomorrow?
And one stone different is
Right?
progress, right?
Right, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
neat.
we absolutely have to be patient with ourselves. We're having a
Mm-hmm.
human experience.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
and love can be arduous, and it can be challenging. And when we love things, love can just bloom open. It doesn't go
Mhm.
away. It
Yeah.
gets calluses, like
Yeah.
a foot that walks without a
Yeah.
boot.
Yeah.
Those calluses are like a foot that walks without a boot for a
Mhm.
very, very long time.
Mm.
And that was part of what inspired my newest book, Cupid is a Bastard, because
Mhm.
a
I love
lot of
that
it,
title.
thank you. And it was my pandemic project. So the
Oh,
pictures on the cover are selfies. Uh,
great.
there's a lot of artwork, poetry. There's even recipes,
Oh,
chocolate,
neat. Neat book.
aromatherapy, and tea recipes. It is a memoir,
Yeah.
but it's a step into this realm of what goes on in Ambika Devi's mind and what happened in her journals. So there's dreams, there's flash fiction, there are poems that help me get over my mother dying, because I moved from Arizona to Florida and spent 12 years with her because I knew it was
Mm.
the end of her life, and
Mhm.
my father had been gone already, and
Yeah.
she really was getting lonely, even though
Yeah.
she wouldn't admit it, and she didn't want me to live with her. So
Mhm.
I moved inland because she lived in a little condo on the beach, and I thought, my goodness, the people she used to stay with during hurricanes aren't here anymore. I need to have shelter.
Yeah.
But in those 12 years, during any hurricane that hit, she never came up here. She
Really?
stayed in that condo. Yeah. Amazing. Really
Wow.
mind blowing. And
Oh.
very independent, which I think is where I get that from.
Mhm.
And, I love her. I love her dearly. And I
Mhm.
talk to her every day.
Yeah.
And I have a little photo of her. I have meals with her.
Good.
And she shows up energetically. Things
Uh-huh.
happen.
Uh-huh.
I was going to do a book signing of Cupid. Cupid is a Bastard. And I walked in my kitchen and I saw this red thing on the floor. And I thought, what is that? And I
Mhm.
went to lean and pick it up, and it's a little Cupid, and
Mm.
it's not mine. It showed up.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. That
There's
little
a video
bastard.
about it because I was completely freaked out by it.
Yeah.
It's on my social media. You can go find it on Instagram, everybody. Follow me
Oh.
on Instagram.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely. Yeah.
put the number 1008 after my name, Ambika Devi, and
Perfect.
you'll find me there. YouTube, you don't need the number.
Yeah.
But it is a popular name in the Far East, so
Yeah.
I didn't get it everywhere. But also, we get jilted. We
Mhm.
open up, and we want to open up uh to give love and receive love,
Mhm.
and we start getting sensations through the senses, and then maybe it doesn't work out. So that's also part of Cupid is a Bastard.
Yeah.
Or we have a heightened experience with someone where I hear the word, but I feel such a connection with them. And I
That's
say
it.
to people, but what does connection mean to you? Well, it's
Mm.
an energy. What kind of energy? Which senses?
Yeah.
What's it telling you? Get to the root of it, everybody. Those are chunked up concepts, but we all go through that.
Yeah.
I love this, and then
Yeah.
it's so shiny tomorrow. I don't know.
I don't know.
You want to
Mm.
really learn about a new relationship, travel somewhere where neither of you have ever been.
Oh, see,
Do
see if
do
you
that
survive.
before you move in together.
Great
No
suggestion.
reservations. See how you fend.
Yeah, absolutely. So
You
to
want
do,
to
oh, go ahead.
I apologize.
No, you're good.
If you're now, internet dating happens, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely
Mhm.
happening.
There, I'm there.
So, you're meeting someone, they're in a foreign place, or,
Hmm.
hours away, or many hours away from you.
Hmm.
Don't go to their house. Don't have them come to your house. Meet somewhere in between where
Middle.
neither of you have ever been.
Great idea.
You
I
want to have
always suggest
real,
that.
yeah, when you want to
Yeah.
have real heart to heart with people, go meet in a neutral place. Don't do it over a meal.
Yeah.
That's not good for your digestion.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
A coffee, a
So,
tea, leave
yeah,
the alcohol out
something
of it.
simple.
Go in nature, go to a
Hmm.
park, sit on a bench, sit on the ground,
Hmm.
preferably,
Hmm.
and face to face, eye to eye, knee
Oh,
to knee, hand in hand,
yeah.
then talk.
Great ideas. Yeah. Gosh, so if somebody wants to have their astrological signs read and all that stuff. Okay, so you said you needed certain things. It was their date of
Date
birth,
with month, day, and year,
month and year,
time of birth
and
with
birth.
hour and minute, and
Okay.
location of birth, because I have to determine the latitude and longitude.
Okay. And then what does it require? Because I was like, oh, could you do me? But I don't know my time of birth. So you're like, no, like, yeah, because you can't do the
That's
chart.
1/3 of a mathematical formula.
Yeah.
So
So how
imagine
do you
you
get the
were
right answer?
baking a cake. Could you leave out 1/3 of the recipe?
I mean, I've been known to do it, but it didn't come out good.
And then
Yeah, there we go.
and then back to just the idea of why astrology.
Yeah.
Astrology is a great merger of science and mythology.
Hmm.
It's storytelling. What did we used to do before the internet in villages? We would sit around a fire at night and listen to stories.
Hmm.
So it's the campfire story of you.
Mm.
And
Nice.
I'm going to help unravel it and tell it
Yeah.
and teach you about it gives us ideas about purpose, about
Yeah.
direction, about things that maybe you want in your life, but they're a little bit dormant. And I'm here to help you figure out how to awaken them.
Mm.
It gives us timing and ideas. It helps us with location. Have you ever, and this might not be you, Andrea, but I'm sure someone listening, have you ever
Sure.
moved somewhere where it just didn't work out for you? Or
Mm.
have you ever visited somewhere where, surprise, surprise, everybody seems to love you and accept you and everything's working great? I could tell you story after story about relocation
Yeah.
astrology with clients where a client maybe traveled somewhere and I didn't even know about it. I'm doing an astrology reading with them, a consultation for the first time, and they want to know about location because they're moving somewhere. And I start off looking at the map of the world and I say, okay, these areas are really good, and they would bring up certain energies for you as per planetary influence. But I see this one area, don't ever go there. And the person
Ah,
screamed out loud, "Oh my God, I
I
traveled
just
there
went
once.
there.
I got robbed on a train. I missed flights. I had all kinds of issues."
Yeah.
Do we sometimes travel to those places? Yeah, I went to a month-long uh convention
Hmm.
experience in an
That's a long
area.
time.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
TED Talk on steroids. It
Oh,
really
wow.
was.
Yeah.
It was a learning experience with many great thinkers and leaders, and also workshops that I took the Silva mind control theory during that. I mean, there was a lot of great stuff, and presenters from all over the world. And I knew that I could run into stuff in that
Yeah.
area. Now, I tried not to project it. I
Yes.
tried not to program myself, but a couple nights in, I went to a celebration party that
Uh-huh.
was part of it. They had these every week. So
Uh-huh.
the first week there was like a welcome party, celebration. How was your first week? I go back to my Airbnb and break the key off in the exterior door lock. So
Oh, no.
now I did get the door open.
Yeah.
So now I have to find something to wedge the door open with. First it was my shoe. Then I'm in a country where I don't speak the language, and I
Yeah.
have to call someone up who's staying at a hostel, hoping she's still awake and hoping someone there can translate English to Estonian. It
Yeah.
was in Estonia,
Hmm.
one of the hardest languages I've ever looked at. And trust me, I know a little bit of a lot of languages and a lot of a few.
Hmm.
And thank goodness I was able to work this all out, get a locksmith there who got the lock open.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and then I couldn't get my landlord on the phone. Not, and I had to be somewhere the next morning. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole thing was a
What a
fiasco. And
mess.
I thought, yep.
Yep.
Okay, let's just have it be one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And fortunately, that was the roughest moments of that trip.
Yeah.
So much of it was great and
Okay.
transformative. And did I
Yeah.
learn how to accept, adapt, and accommodate? Oh, yes, I
Yes,
did.
you did. You had no choice. So when you do your readings and you give them their information, like how much should that person take those things that you said and apply them to their life going forward? Like, I mean, I had a psychic reading once and they said something about that I'm going to end up with a guy with this initial and this initial. And it's all I can think about. When I go on a date with somebody, it pops into my mind and I'm like, what's their name? It's probably not going to be you. I kind of wish she had
Oh
never told
boy.
me. Yeah, right?
One must be very, very mindful and careful
Yeah.
when speaking to another individual in this way. I
Mm-hmm.
have clients that over the years, I have thousands of clients for
Yeah.
astrology. And I have police chiefs.
Wow.
I have owners of Fortune 500 companies.
Uh-huh.
I have international banking investors. I
Wow.
have housewives. I
Mm-hmm.
have kids who don't know what they want to major in high school or
Mm.
college.
Yeah.
I have families who are trying to understand how to deal with a teenager.
It's
I
rough.
have people trying to maintain a relationship, get into a relationship, or get out of a relationship or a job. I
Mm-hmm.
had a sales team leader from a big, huge corporation,
Mm-hmm.
and they came to me and said, I'm on the verge of having a bleeding ulcer. I need to get out of this job, but I absolutely have to have X amount of money in the bank before I can leave it. I'm like,
Wow.
oh, thank you very much, for putting this in my
Yeah,
lap.
that's a little pressure.
Now, that's a lot
Uh,
of coaching as well as looking at the astrological data.
yeah.
I did predict it within a day, though, of when she would leave the company.
Whoa.
Do I do predictions like that? Not that often,
Yeah.
but when somebody puts you on a retainer every month,
Yeah.
you
You
work a
might
little
do a little
harder.
predicting.
She used to call me up on the way to meetings, and I would say, when is the meeting going to be? When is the presentation? And she, for this particular meeting, she said it could either be at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. So
Uh-huh.
I did all the calculating for each. I would come up with colors to wear, language to use as per
Wow.
planetary hour and the influence and what
Yeah.
she was wanting to project for them. And so we were like, great, it's going to be at 10 a.m. Call me tomorrow afternoon. Let me know how it is.
Yeah.
So the call comes in and she says, I'm so sorry. The meeting didn't happen this morning. I'm in the cab getting changed right now on the way to the meeting. Remind me what everything about 2 p.m. was.
Oh no.
Fortunately, I had good notes. She won the sale. Her team went from the 500s to the top 50 at that
Wow.
company.
Wow. Goodness. That's a cool story. Yeah.
So what do
So,
I use it for? Lots of different things,
yeah.
health. Our
Yeah.
Western medical system, if you open up the Farmer's Almanac, you'll see a picture of a body with the
Uh-huh.
astrological signs on different areas.
Yeah.
It is the influence.
Yeah.
The astrological signs will influence different areas. So when certain planets are transiting certain houses, which are in certain signs in your chart, then
Mm-hmm.
they're affecting you. But then we have to understand it's a contemplative practice to read
Yeah.
an astrological chart. It's not cookie cutter. It is not a cookbook. It is
Mm-hmm.
not a fortune cookie.
Yeah.
It can be in those
Mm-hmm.
70-word horoscopes,
Yeah.
and you better be good at it if you're going to write those.
Right.
But if we're really looking at you, we have to take into consideration your solar return, which was when the sun came back to the position it was in where you were born. It could be the day before, the day of, or the day after your upcoming birthday.
Mm.
We have to look at the transits of eclipses. Those put a 6-month influence on us. That's
Mm-hmm.
another layer.
Yeah.
Then we can also look at what's in the current transits. Then we can bring in some Gemini from the position of the moon and what planetary influence overall are you in. But we could also reduce that all the way down to the hour or the minute,
Wow.
which is
Yeah.
part of planning things like contractual agreements.
Mm-hmm.
But what if your contractual agreement's great at 10 p.m. and City Hall closes at 4 or
Yeah.
5? You do the best you can.
Yeah. Absolutely. So more of a guidance. It just kind of, yeah,
If
take it
if
as
you
a
have to travel
guidance.
during Mercury retrograde, which gets a lot of press,
Uh-huh.
it's best if you leave and come back during the retrograde. If
Oh,
you leave before the retrograde, you could run into some issues getting there. If you're coming back during the retrograde, you could run into some issues there. But when you're in the middle of a retrograde and all planets, except for the moon, from our perspective view, go through retrograde patterns.
Mm.
Today, when we're recording this, everyone, on May 2nd,
Mhm.
earlier this afternoon, in my time, Eastern USA time, Pluto went retrograde. I know some people don't consider Pluto a planet anymore, but he's the ruler of Scorpio, and my
Uh.
sun sign is Scorpio. I am not going to disrespect Pluto. And I went retrograde. Now he's an outer planet. He goes retrograde for a long time, and he moves very, very, very slowly. Takes
Uh,
248 approximate years, depending on path and how we're measuring time, because the Gregorian calendar doesn't line up perfectly with the star and movement of everything,
yeah,
calculating moons, because we have 13 moons in a year, but
yeah.
12 months.
Moods.
Months. Things got a little manipulated there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love how much detail you know about. I mean, this is 47 years in the making, though, right? So
Oh, more. I started
more.
studying astrology in 1972 or 170. Yeah, I
Wow.
formally began studying in 1978. And
Wow.
then I was an apprentice for a very famous astrologer and ghost wrote for her, Barbara
Mm.
Shear. She wrote
Hmm.
for Sedona Times, a very famous little magazine.
Yeah.
And I wrote a lot for her website. And she and her husband, Jim Shear, were very famous in Berkeley, California,
Hmm.
back in the 70s. And then I went to school and got formal education from North Star University. It used to be called the Astrological Institute, but things went through changes. The owner died suddenly while
Ooh.
I was in school there, and it was a bona fide university, but then it got taken over by another university called Rainstar University in Scottsdale,
Hmm.
Arizona, and I happened to be an instructor there
Hmm.
part-time, and that owner took it over and made it North Star University, but
Hmm.
unfortunately it's no longer. I will
Yeah.
happily teach. There are many good programs. You're welcome to send me a message, any kind of inquiry through my website,
Yeah.
and ask questions. There's great fundamental article on my blog, a couple of them, about why choose astrology, and then another on the fundamentals. And you can access those either directly through my blog at my site or
Yeah.
from my astrology page. Just look under expertise at
Hmm.
my site, and you'll see me as an astrologer, me as a meditation expert, and me as a public speaker, because I would love to speak to your group and organization.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah. We'll get all that information right at the end and I'll have it on the description in the
Sure.
when we post the lost my words there. We'll add it when we post the episode as
In the
well
show notes.
in the show notes. Yeah. So now when you talk about astrology, does that fall into the category of also like, numbers when you're seeing duplicate numbers, 1111,
Ah, the angel
22, or is
number.
that, yeah. But I
That's
sometimes
that's
see if I,
synchronicity. That's
yeah, it could go
synchronicity.
all day long. You're like 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12, and it just hits every hour. Does that usually mean something? Or is it
What's it mean to you?
means that I'm in line with the universe? That's what I'm thinking it
Okay,
means.
if that's what it means to you, great. That's what it means to you.
Yeah.
One of my teachers, Linda Goodman, you might recognize her name.
Uh-huh.
She was also one of my astrology teachers before I went to formal school.
Yeah.
Um, she wrote a great book called Star Signs, and it's all about numerology.
Okay.
That's one of the best. Harish Johari also wrote a great numerology book using just the numbers 1 through
Yeah.
9.
Huh.
And
So
they
they do
both,
go a little hand in hand.
oh no, very much
Very
so.
much. Yeah.
And tarot cards too. Tarot has astrology, it has numerology, it
Mm,
has mythology, it has visual imagery. Uh,
mm,
People can be very superficial, cookie cutter, fortune cookie with that as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone was looking to go and have, uh, to kind of figure out where they're going in life with their direction, everything, and they have all these choices because there's the astrology, there's the numeric astrology, there's palm reading, there's tarot cards, psychic.
Oh,
W-
yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different options.
Divination.
What is kind of the best direction for somebody that's just like,
They have to make their own choice.
yeah,
There is
they're
no
all
best
just so
direction.
different.
Here's the deal. If you're going to another individual
Hmm.
for any kind of consultation, whether they're a divinator, whether they read cards, whether they do some kind of ceremony, uh, whether they are an astrologer like me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whether they're a psychoanalyst,
Mm-hmm.
or it's all up to how good is that person
Yeah.
interpreting things. So it blows my mind that I was talking to a client recently who was struggling in their primary relationship, in their
Mm-hmm.
marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to a religious leader
Mm-hmm.
for the church that they belong to. And I said, "Great. Did they offer counseling to you and your spouse?" And they said, "No." I said, "What?" I said, Is there a chaplain? Is there someone who is a couples counselor or has a group for
Mm-hmm.
people about relationships at your organization?" "No," they said. All right, now I'm getting distressed hearing this.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, what did your spiritual leader offer you?" And this was a bona fide church, not calling
Mhm.
out any particular pathway, but it was an organized situation. They said, "Well, they prayed for me." And I said, "Prayer is great, but when we're talking about relationships,
Yeah.
we have to deal with communication, and someone needs to referee that communication for you.
Mm.
They have to be your mediator
Yeah.
and the advocate of both of you." Now, it's not unusual for people to come to me and they think the other person needs to be fixed
Yeah.
or repaired.
It's usually how we
But
think.
here's another secret, everyone.
Mm.
If we want the world, the external world, to shift and change and grow for us,
Yeah.
it starts from inside,
Yeah.
inside the heart and inside the head.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. That's a lot of information. I just, it's so fascinating because I really don't know a whole lot about it. And it's always been a little bit, kind of taboo or scary, when you think about that. I pass it all the time. I see tarot card readings, I see astrology, and it's that little bit of, ooh, do I want to know? Do I don't want to know? Because you don't know what you're going to find out. I mean, so it'd be a little weird.
My question is, how, what's their experience? How good of a storyteller are they?
Yeah.
Are they going to bring me back to the campfire where
Yeah.
I'm going to find myself again? And that's my main intention with
Yeah.
any client,
Mhm.
is I am not telling you what will happen. I want you to say, what can I do in order to make something happen?
Mm.
So I have gathered so many tools over this 64-and-a-half-year-old
Mhm.
body's existence,
Mhm.
and done so much study and worked with so many thousands of clients that I learn a lot from them.
Yeah.
And I am always really being very mindful to not put any ideas in their head.
Yeah.
If you ask me a question with will in it, I won't answer it.
Yeah.
Not unless the will is, what can I do? What will I be able to? Not even.
Mhm.
No, what can I do? You want to
Interesting.
manifest a partner? Let's talk about the 13 areas of life. Do you have lists on all of
Yeah.
them? Are you clear?
Yeah.
It, and then what can you put in? I'm okay if it's not here.
Yeah.
If you have a really concise list of everything through all the senses, what they look like, what they sound like, what they taste like, what they smell like, what
Mhm.
their diet's like, what's in their bank account. I mean, and then you're like, but they can't be bald. Well, if you're in your 60s, you might want to consider putting that in I can handle it. Do you see what I'm
Tolerable.
saying?
I
If you
do.
watch any of I love watching the matchmaker shows
Oh
on
yeah.
Netflix. I
Oh
love them
yeah.
all.
Patty Stanger.
I've
Yeah, that's
learned a
my
lot
favorite.
from all of them.
Yes.
I'm often cheering them on, going, "Yes, that's exactly what I say."
Yes.
If you having that great connection
Uh-huh.
and you're already getting involved physically,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're getting ghosted. My
Oh,
question is, did you, or you find out they're already with someone else?
yeah.
My question is, did you establish monogamy first?
That's what she says. Monogamy
Patty says
before.
that. Patty
Yeah. What
says,
does she say? How does her like
no
uh
sex before
or
monogamy.
monogamy? Yep.
And that's my rule too.
Yeah. I think
If
it's
you're
a
already,
great rule.
I will point blank ask you, have you had sex?
Yeah.
If you tell me, well, we're really intimate, you know what intimacy is, everybody? Into me, see, right? If you're really looking in me.
Yeah.
The fact that we use that word to describe underwear as
Yeah.
intimates and that we use it to describe sex is beyond my comprehension.
Yeah. Never thought of
Because
it
you
that
can have
way.
sex without intimacy,
Yeah.
but and you can have intimacy without
Without
sex.
sex.
But you have to decide what comes first. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're building a relationship, if you're really out there shopping and building a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you have to think about, what am I putting as the cornerstones and the foundation?
Mm-hmm.
And if you start building the tower really high, can
Mm-hmm.
that foundation handle it? Is it wide
Yeah.
enough, strong enough?
Actually gonna crumble. Yeah.
And the cornerstones must be clear communication,
Mm-hmm.
truth and honesty,
Mm-hmm.
and the AAA club goes in there too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Then there's a
Yeah.
lot that goes into that, but you have to decide what's important to you and what's
Yeah.
not important. If you're having a casual relationship, have a casual relationship.
Yeah.
But then 6 months into it, don't think, well, but now I'm ready for more. Well,
Yeah.
but did you establish that before you got into this point? No, you did not.
No.
So
No.
come on,
Well,
let's get
yeah, that's
real.
so true. We all want to
If we
do
if we
that.
watch, there is one matchmaking show on Netflix that no touching
Ah.
before an establishment of commitment
Ooh.
and monogamy.
Interesting.
More conservative
Yeah.
groups
Yeah.
and religious groups will require, chaperones,
Mm-hmm.
uh and then they'll let the couple go and talk, but they'll keep their eye on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll
Wow,
say no
that's really,
touching, don't eat
yeah.
off the other one's plate yet.
Yeah. I don't know how I do on that one because I mean, physical touch is my love language. So I need to kind of see how, it just for me fast. If I'm
Then that would
like
be a
feeling
really
it,
good one to hold back
it
on,
would. You're probably right. It would. I don't know
to
that I
learn
do so
how to
well
pull the
to
reins back on that
restrain
wild horse.
myself. Yeah. Because if I start
Because
feeling a
that
connection,
if
I want
you're
to touch.
receiving the same results,
Yes.
let's go back and look at what the patterns are
Yes.
that you're
Definitely.
allowing.
Insanity. Yeah.
But it wasn't Einstein who said that.
No.
Einstein got the creds on it. It was Rita Mae Brown, a
Oh.
writer. He read one of her books. I
Uh-huh.
probably read a lot of her books. I'm an
Oh,
Einstein freak, but I also love Rita Mae Brown.
yeah. Oh, that's tricky. Huh. Well, this has been such great information. So tell us a little bit before we go about your books that you have. So you've talked briefly about a couple of them. Just give us some of the titles, where they can find them,
You
that
can
kind of good
find all
thing.
my books at my website,
Okay.
myname.com, Ambika Devi, AMBIKADEVI.com. In the top menu, you can see, if you're on a computer, you'll see books and blog and podcasts. And then under expertise, the different things that I do. But you can just go down the main homepage and you could either send me a message or book an appointment right there.
Oh, I love
My
it.
calendar is my virtual assistant. So
Perfect.
you could do a discovery call with me. I do charge for
Uh-huh.
that $50, but I give it back to you when you make a 1 hour appointment.
Okay.
So it's a
Nice.
deposit
Yes, on
on an
yourself.
appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the books, my first book is Lilith, and it's a novel. It won a
Okay.
spiritual fiction award, an
Ooh,
international
congrats.
award. And did I think it was spiritual? Well, I think everything I talk about is spiritual. But when trying to categorize me or pigeonhole me, I
Uh-huh.
do get stuck in spiritual a lot. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Um, I hope that I'm lifting your spirit listening to this, and grateful that you're here all the way till now.
Yeah.
And so Lilith, if you want to learn a lot about me, you'll learn in that book,
Okay.
because it's fiction, but a lot of those stories are true. I did,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a writer. I did, change things a little bit here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
if you have questions and you're reading Lilith, send me a question.
Ooh, I love
One of my
that.
favorite, yeah, and ask me, did that really happen to you? I'll
Yeah.
answer it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. maybe in a blog, which are also on my podcast. A lot of my blog articles you can listen to if you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to read, but I do put visuals in the blog. My
Mm-hmm.
second book, Unfolding Happiness. I showed that to everybody watching the YouTube video of this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an introduction to Ayurveda,
Mm-hmm.
meditation, and cosmology. It does
Mm-hmm.
have a great Ayurveda quiz in it. It's got two quizzes to show you what you were born with, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like a mapping of your astrological chart, and where you're at right now. And then I, as a holistic health professor, didn't just use one form. I taught shiatsu and oriental pathology from traditional Chinese medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I could easily do acupuncture, but I choose not to at this
Mm-hmm.
point anymore. Herbology, joint manipulation. I like to teach people how to do it themselves. And one of the main premises of Unfolding Happiness is everything you need to stay healthy is in your kitchen. And if it's
Ooh.
not, then let's talk about what's in your kitchen.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, the third
Yeah.
book is a poetry book. It's a co-poetry book with a fellow writer local to me in Florida who was a famous Vietnam vet who wrote a lot of poetry about Vietnam. And I wanted him to write something about his love of water. And he writes some really beautiful love
Oh,
poetry.
nice.
So it's called The Wizard and the Wrench.
Okay.
And it's a book of poetry and also photography,
Beautiful.
a lot of my photography. It's very against the poet's code to have pictures or images in a poetry book. I convinced him it would be cool, and he does love it. And it's kind of a conversation of our poems back and forth. His stuff is great. His name is Dominic Albanese. My fourth and fifth book is the same book, one in English, one in Spanish.
Hmm.
It's from it's a little book. It's a little ebook. It's not available between covers right now. It is also an audiobook. Those books so far are all audiobooks as well. And it's called Identifying, and oh my gosh, I have to remember the title of my own book. Uh, oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed.
Oh, that's
You have to
okay.
cut this out. I
Yeah, yeah,
have
yeah,
to go
yeah,
look
for
at
sure.
my own site. Uh, it's been so long since I talked about that book.
Oh, that's
I'm
okay.
usually talking about Cupid.
Identifying.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go get
Write
the
that down.
proper title.
Yep, go for it. And then just
Yeah.
start that part over.
Um, yeah, just mark the timestamp.
Yep.
So my fourth book is Identifying and Honoring the Goddess.
Okay.
And it's just a short piece.
Hmm.
And my designer and I made a really pretty ebook with color pictures in it. And she is from South America, so she translated it into Spanish.
Oh, nice.
And so if you have Spanish speaking friends.
Yeah,
And then my sixth book is Cupid is a Bastard, which
perfect.
is my new baby. This is not in an audiobook yet because
Okay.
I haven't decided if I want to do that. I've done a lot of videos of me reading from it.
Hmm.
There's quite a few on my YouTube channel. It's a short story of Cupid and
Hmm.
I having a conversation about being jilted in love. And
Oh, I
then
like
he
that.
morphs and transforms into Kama Devi, which is from India,
Uh-huh.
the India version of Cupid. And I did a lot of study of mythology, as an astrologer.
Yeah.
But Cupid, even though it's a planet, it's an asteroid that I use in my astrological charts because, we want to know where Cupid is and the
Right.
relationship to Cupid and Psyche, Cupid and Venus,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
Because Aphrodite, Venus,
Hmm.
is also involved in those myths. And Cupid fell crazy in love with Psyche, the moon.
Hmm.
So that's why we can't just look at the sun signs because the love astrology, now you're starting to get a little education. If we
Hmm.
understand the myth of Cupid and Psyche and how he got trapped in that relationship and that his mother is Aphrodite, his mother is Venus,
Yeah.
and he's the
Ooh.
bastard child of Venus. Aha, Cupid is a
Ah,
bastard.
hence the name.
Right? We don't know who his daddy is. We don't know
Yeah.
if it's Zeus
Yeah.
or if it's somebody else. Could be Mars.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
different myths,
Very
different takes
cool.
on that. Venus kept a secret on
Oh,
that.
that's great. That's
Yeah, so
great.
those are the books. There's
Wow.
definitely lots to learn on my blog.
Yes,
And like I said, you can listen
absolutely.
to it. It's on my podcast. If you want to just skip ahead to there, my
Yeah,
podcast is called Meditate with Ambika.
perfect.
And I just figured, you know what? Everything I write is a meditation. So I put
Yeah.
the articles and the guided meditations there. There's a great root chakra meditation on my blog and my podcast. There's an explanation article about it, but then there's also a longer guided meditation. That's one
Mhm.
of the few daytime meditations I have there. I have a few. I have a 5 minute
Okay.
reset, which we
Yeah.
all can use when we get
Yeah. Easy.
insulted and then we
Yeah.
have to go do something or meet somebody important.
Yeah.
And they're all there. That
Perfect.
one also on the blog and the podcast.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
you can write me on my website at ambikadevi.com, or you can just go ahead and please set up either onboarding call with me for a new client or new student.
Yeah.
I do tutor people. I tutor people. I have a tutoring student right now who's studying psychology, who has to write a paper about cross comparing Vedanta and the Yoga Pradipika. I
Whoa.
am a consultant for the international organization, the Yoga Alliance. They consider me a walking university. And as I
Yeah.
said, I'm working on a PhD, so I still study
Woo.
because one thing I want you all to take away is
Mm.
when you stop learning, you stop living.
Oh, perfect. Wow. You have got it going on, girl. You got something for everybody. I love it. So good. Perfect. Well, I love having you on here. And before you go, I like to do a little from Mrs. to Ms. fun facts. It's just
All right.
a would you rather? You're gonna do that with me? It's just 10 little questions of would you rather do this or that. You ready?
Yep.
All right, let's go.
Hit me.
Hit ya. Number one, would you rather have an adventurous date exploring a new city together or a cozy night in with a homemade dinner and a movie?
If it's a first date, the exploration. If
Ah,
it's a later date, then home.
oh, good answer. Everybody's always like one or the other. I like it. You discern between those. Number two, would you rather find inner peace through practicing mindfulness and self reflection daily or by attending a monthly retreat where you can completely disconnect from technology?
Oh, I'm definitely a solo practitioner. I'm all
Yeah.
about the practices that I can take. I do love going to events,
Yeah.
but monthly, no. If I need rejuvenation or recharge, or if I fell off of what's called sadhana, my daily practice,
Hmm.
then I would definitely take a class or do a retreat.
Yeah.
But uh,
But not all the
those
time.
practices, I want them to be habitual with
Mm.
me. So
Ooh, I
solo
like that.
practice.
Okay. Would you rather date someone who shares all your hobbies and interests but has different values or someone with similar values but few shared interests?
Values.
Values. I like that
Didn't
too.
even have to think about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. You're like, got it. Number four, spontaneous makeout sessions or planned candlelight dinners.
How far into the relationship are we?
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's say we've been dating for like a couple months.
It
What do you
really
think?
depends on the mood and the occasion.
Yeah. Do you kiss
Uh,
on the first date?
no,
No. Hold hands? Nothing.
I would
Nothing. You
prefer
just
not to. No touch. Yeah.
so yeah. Oh, you're in the no touch show. You do well on that show.
I've learned, I mean, have I done that? Sure, I did.
Sure. Yeah. But you learned.
Spontaneous makeout sessions are great. Candlelight
Yeah.
dinners are great too.
Yeah.
It just really depends
On the timing
on,
where you're at.
yeah, you know.
Hmm. Would you rather practice yoga every morning to find balance and serenity or take long walks in nature every evening to unwind and achieve inner peace or both?
I
Hmm.
I do the walks. I make it a point to do a walk in the morning first thing and
Hmm.
then yoga after, but I also do some other things, meditation, pranayama. I love evening walks also, especially when
Yeah.
it gets really hot here, but
Yeah.
I also like to go roller skating dark.
Oh,
I
that's
use bike
fun.
lights, so I'm flashing,
Yeah.
but
Like not
the
rollerblades, actual roller skates.
quads, yeah, street
Yeah.
skates.
Neat.
Yeah, I wrote astrology for a roller skate company and they gifted me an awesome pair of skates.
Ooh, perfect. Love it. Number six, blindfolded surprises or playful role play.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Again, I think it has to be the mood.
Yeah.
You know, do I like surprises? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Are all surprises great? Definitely
No.
not. Yeah. Well, that one I'm
Yeah.
kind of I'm in a neutral place on those.
That's okay. You can do that. You can do that. Number 7, would you rather have the ability to read your partner's mind during sex or be able to control their sensations with just a touch?
I think couples can begin to read each other.
Mm,
And I don't know if we're reading mind or we're
yeah.
reading sensation.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And being
interesting.
able to spark them with just a touch. Yeah, that
Oh,
one.
that's good too. Yeah. Number 8, trying new positions or mastering the old ones?
Trying new positions or mastering the old ones. That would depend on hip flexibility. I can stand on my head. I do it every day. So I believe also we all know what our comfort zones and angles are.
All right. Yeah.
So before
What we're good
trying a new
at.
position, I mean, I'd be open to it,
Yeah.
but I'd want to make sure it wasn't going to be painful.
Yeah.
So I'd want to know if there was a possibility of toppling over. We had a proper falling area mat, and that nobody's
It all
going to end up in traction as a result of it.
wah wah. I think the mood's gone. He's like, let's go eat. Number 9, slow dancing in the living room or spontaneous dance moves in the kitchen.
Oh, spontaneous dance moves anywhere.
Yes.
Anywhere. Why does it have to be in the house? Why
Yeah.
can't it be on the Riverwalk,
Why
or why
not?
can't
Yeah.
it be in the restaurant when a song comes on that you know both of you love?
Yeah. I like
Spontaneous
that.
dancing
Smooth
everywhere.
everywhere. That's the
Yeah.
one. That's the one. And the last one, tease to build anticipation or straight for the fireworks.
Oh, tease.
Te-
Absolute tease.
Nobody's ever said
We are
straight for the
nothing without
fireworks.
tease
That is right.
because it all happens in the mind, everybody.
And you got to get that in
So
the
you
right
got to work
place.
it up. And, the female container needs
Hmm.
more anticipation,
Ooh.
and the male container can blow it too early.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Don't do
Is that
that.
appropriate sometimes? Yeah, but not all the time.
No, agreed. Great answers. Thank you so much for playing along with that. That was
I
fun.
love it.
I love it. Yay. Well, thank you once again so much for joining me today. And again, we'll have all of your information listed on the description of the episode when it comes out. So make sure to watch for that, and plenty of ways to reach out to Ambika to get everything that you need and want to talk about. So she's very open to that. So utilize that, take advantage of
Please don't be
anything that she has
shy.
to offer. Yes, if you're feeling it and resonating with her, please use that information, get in touch with her. So thank you again for joining me today. And to everybody else out there, thank you for listening and tuning in. I appreciate it. Can't do it without you. So thank you once again. You can find me on any major streaming platform. I am on all social media at from.mrs.2.ms. So feel free to reach out to me as well. Follow, like, subscribe, and we will talk to you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye. Yay. Perfect.